Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing pretty good myself because, content's been pretty slow lately, so I had to do a bit of digging into my back catalog of videos that I had saved, but, I never actually decided to respond to. And luckily, we have one of my favorite topics to talk about today, which is, of course, a PlayStation fanboy who does not like Xbox Game Pass. Now, this is talking about the whole Xbox Game Pass versus the new PS Plus whole thing that happened like 3 weeks ago to a month ago. So all these videos, or not all of them, we're gonna watch like two clips from two different videos because this guy has different news segments in each of his videos. So I just picked out the segments that were about this topic. So it's about 5 to 6 minutes total of footage. So it should make for a decent length video, I figured. And I also figured that, this topic isn't too out of date. The debate between Game Pass and PS Plus is always going on. So why not talk about it some more? Now, this first segment we're going to take a look at is from a video where he's talking about, the Take-Two CEO sharing his disagreement with the whole day and date thing Game Pass has going on. And he's basically saying that it's a good thing that games don't come day and date to PS Plus. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it.
All new PlayStation Plus launched June 13th in North and South America. And like I've mentioned in multiple videos, PlayStation can't really do anything without being compared to Xbox and vice versa, so the same holds true with their subscription service. Since PlayStation modified their service, the all-new PlayStation Plus, it's immediately compared to Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because this is Sony's response to Game Pass. Game Pass has been doing absurdly well lately. How long ago was it now that they announced they had passed 25 million subscribers? So if Sony is going to do a similar service to them, why wouldn't people compare them? Even PlayStation fanboys like yourself were comparing the two subscription services, and people were trying to determine which one was more worth your money.
One of the major differences between the two services is the day and date structure of first-party titles that you find in Xbox Game Pass. PlayStation has said numerous times that it does not fit the business model and would affect game quality if they did in fact follow the day and date model that Game Pass currently has.
Yeah, and this is the argument that's always brought up whenever, people are trying to say, oh, well, PlayStation Plus Premium doesn't have day and date games. This is always the argument that's used, is that people say, oh, it's going to affect quality of games. Well, let's look at Game Pass for a second. Forza Horizons 4 and 5 both launched Game Pass day one. They are some of the best first-party games Microsoft has ever put out. Forza Horizon 5 was actually the biggest first-party Microsoft title launch in all of Xbox history, and it came out on Game Pass day one, and the game that came before it also came out on Game Pass day one. And I know I'm already going to hear people arguing, oh, well, they won't make as much money for the games, so then the future games can't be as high quality. Well, think about it this way. Microsoft, after passing 25 million subscribers, they make over $250 million a month from Game Pass. Now, to put this into perspective, God of War in a year made around $500 million. So that basically means that Game Pass makes in a month over half of what one of Sony's best-selling games of all time made in a year. But you also have to consider that not every single person is going to get the new games through the subscription services. There are still going to be plenty of people who don't have the service who are just going to buy the game for full price. Again, another great example, Horizon Zero Dawn made over $400 million. So once again, Game Pass makes almost over half of in a month how much Horizon Zero Dawn made in a year. You also have to consider this. God of War, let's go back to this. It cost about $44 million to make. Horizon Zero Dawn cost around $40 million to make, and I just punched this into a calculator. That means that in 1 month, Game Pass makes over 6 times what it costs to make one of those games. 1 month of Game Pass revenue could pay for Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War 6.5 times over. Now, I'm not going to ignore the fact that, obviously, not every single penny of Game Pass goes to Microsoft. They have to pay out third-party developers and stuff. But even so, they still pocket a lot of the cash. And it's very obvious, because if they didn't, then why do they still put out good first-party games? Like, even Halo Infinite, think about this. Like, yes, Halo Infinite, I know now with the multiplayer and stuff, it's in a really bad state. But when the game launched, especially with the campaign, it was finished, it was polished. Same with Forza Horizons 4 and 5. Those games were both incredibly polished when they came out. So I call complete cap that it would affect the quality of games at least substantially. I think Sony just, wants to charge people $70 for a game individually.
Well, CEO of one of the biggest publishers in the world, the biggest game ever, GTA 5.
Okay, this isn't really that important of a point, but I just like to throw out that Minecraft is the biggest game in the world and GTA 5 is like second, I believe. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick has had multiple things to say when it comes to these subscription services. A couple weeks back, he did an interview with GameIndustry.biz, and he pointed out that Take-Two's games are on numerous subscription services, but he doesn't believe adding them on day one is the best practice. This is what he said. We've supported various subscription services and we're happy to do so, Zelnick said. Our skepticism has been around making frontline console products available day and date with subscription. That doesn't make any sense to us because economically speaking, we don't think consumers are prepared to pay for that. Why would they?
Okay, so here's a major issue I have with this whole quote from this dude is like, what does he mean that consumers aren't prepared to pay for it? He does realize that there's over 25 million Game Pass members and like 50 million PS Plus members, right? Like, what does this whole thing of consumers aren't prepared to pay for it thing come from? I don't know, maybe somebody in the comments can explain it to me, but I always found this part of the quote just really weird.
We can't afford to turn our business upside down in a way that doesn't make sense economically. There has always been an intersection between what the consumer wants and what the publisher is able to do. And it doesn't make sense to do that for our properties. That's our opinion. And I think Sony agrees with us because it said so.
And here's the major problem I have with this video. This part is so disingenuous because he cut like a whole other paragraph where this dude was basically talking about how he could be wrong about that whole statement. He was sticking by his stance, yes, but he admitted that he could very easily be wrong about it, and they'll have to see how the future shapes up. I don't know, I guess I found that, is disingenuous the right word? Yeah, I think so. I found it pretty disingenuous that this dude cut the part where the CEO is saying that, hey, we could be wrong about this, because, if he included that part, it wouldn't fit the narrative as well.
Long story short, I've talked about this a lot. The fact that day and date subscription services in terms of Xbox Game Pass are not sustainable. Paying hundreds of millions of dollars to create these big, huge blockbuster games and then slapping them into a subscription service, it's just not sustainable at any levels. You heard this not only from CEO Strauss Zelnick, but other CEOs around the industry, and you're seeing those effects in Xbox Game Pass.
Really, dude, because any game that's had a predecessor in Game Pass, for the most part, they've always come out pretty polished and well done on day one. Again, look at Forza, and I know there's plenty of examples like, Sea of Thieves, but the thing about Sea of Thieves and other games like it is that's a lone game. It never had a prequel to it that was ever in Game Pass, and it just never had a prequel in general. So the problem with Sea of Thieves wasn't, the lack of funding, at least from what I know. Like, when it came out, it was just the fact that the game had basically no content. Also, I think what he just said right there about the games costing hundreds of millions of dollars to make, I think that just shows how little he knows about it, because a basic Google search would tell you, like I said earlier, God of War cost around 45 million to make. Horizon Zero Dawn cost 40 million to make. A lot of these games don't cost hundreds of millions to make, at least not, like Sony first party games. Now, I should mention this so I don't look like a hypocrite or anything. Yes, in the case of Rockstar, I think GTA's budget was between $250 million and $300 million. So for those absolutely massive games like the one Rockstar puts out, like GTA 5 and Red Dead 2, yeah, there you have a pretty good argument that those games probably shouldn't go in day and date. But when it comes to, Sony's first party titles going into their own subscription service day and date, those could easily go in because, like I just said earlier, I'm not going to repeat it, but I showed you guys the numbers. Microsoft makes enough in a month to pay for the game 6 times over. Also, he said that Game Pass isn't sustainable with the whole day and date thing. If that's the case, how has it been going for 5 years and it's at the best point it ever has been?
Multiple content creators spread fake rumors that huge games like Madden, like Battlefield 2042 before it launched, and other huge games were going to drop day and date in Game Pass, but surprise, surprise, none of those things actually happen because it doesn't make sense economically for the publishers of those games and Xbox itself.
Yeah, like I just established, for third-party studios, I I can understand that, especially if, you know, the games cost hundreds of millions to make, then I can understand that. But at the same time, for Xbox, no, dude, it definitely makes sense, because if it didn't make sense, why are they still doing it? And if it hurts the game so much, how come Forza Horizon 5, which just released, what, like 8 or 9 months ago now, is the best Xbox launch game in history? Because I'll just throw it out here, if Game Pass wasn't sustainable, then they would have shut it down years ago.
That's why PlayStation Plus, the all-new PlayStation Plus, is a perfect blend of what is good about Xbox Game Pass and what is bad not being there. Essentially, PlayStation gets their games out, they release them like a blockbuster movie, people go see it, people play it, and then eventually, about a year or so later, they drop it into their subscription service. Good examples of that are in the all-new PlayStation Plus, Demon's Souls, Returnal, all of those games that dropped, got their sales, and now they're in the subscription service. It's a perfect blend, in my opinion.
Or, you know, hear me out, they could put the games into the subscription service on day one. People who have the service can download the game if they want to. If they don't have the service, then they might be enticed to get the service because they'll see it's in there along with a bunch of other great games. And those who don't want to get the service can just pay the $60 or $70 for the game. That would be the much more pro-consumer thing to do, because then you're not forcing people to drop 60 or 70 bucks on a game. And even if they did the day one stuff, as we've seen with Xbox, they're still going to make a boatload of money anyway.
I feel like PlayStation Plus has hit it out the park with their subscription service with the 3 tiers. You're not forced to do something that you don't want to do.
I mean, dude, you kind of are, because you have to pay full price for their first-party games on day one, and probably for a while after day one, until they decide they're eventually going to put it onto the service. So you kind of do have to do that if you want to play the game. And I already know somebody's going to say, oh, you're not forced to buy the game. Well, if you want to play it on day one, you have to pay full price for it. You don't have a choice. That's what I mean.
You get the essential, you could get the extra, or you could get the premium, depending on what you like and what you do not like. And it's not going to devalue their properties or their games that they put out.
Yeah, and it wouldn't devalue their games either if they came day and date to the service, as has been shown with Microsoft. But anyway, guys, that's the end of that section of that video. Now we're going to move on to a different section from a different video. And in this video, he's basically trying to claim that Microsoft is under-delivering with Game Pass and PlayStation is over-delivering. And that might sound a little confusing now, but here, let's take a look and you guys will see what he means.
In other news, speaking of the all-new PlayStation Plus, it launched in North America on June 13th, 2022, and most recently it launched in Europe last week. Before it launched, PlayStation made lots of promises, and we're gonna see if they kept true to their word, if they over-delivered or under-delivered. Xbox, the competition, is famous for over-promising and under-delivering, so we'll see what happened with PlayStation.
Yeah, Xbox overpromises and underdelivers, but that's pretty much every company in the video game industry. It's called marketing. They want to sell people on a product. Of course, they're going to exaggerate things. Like, remember with the Xbox One X, Microsoft said that thing could do like every game 4K 60, and the only game it could actually do that in was like Forza Motorsport 7. And in regards to Sony, remember when they said that whole 8K thing? They put 8K on the PS5 box. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't really seen any 8K things from the PlayStation 5. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we haven't. So I'm pretty sure all companies are guilty of overpromising and under-delivering.
Before they launched, they promised over 700 titles with the all-new PlayStation Plus Extra and PlayStation Plus Premium tiers. But according to the calculations from Push Square, shout out to them, I use their articles all the time for these videos, so go check them out. According to their calculations, it actually exceeded 800. In fact, the exact number is 802. That is a lot of games. That's almost 1,000. Of course, you got to take the caveat that these calculations are going to vary based off of where you are and some regional exclusives, so take it with a grain of salt.
And I just want to clarify, yeah, this is true. They do have over 800 games available in total if you know, have the premium edition. But I'm just a little confused on how this is over-delivering on what they promised, because they said over 700 games. Last I checked, 802 games is over 700, so I don't really see how that's over-delivering necessarily. Because by this logic, Game Pass is way over-delivering, because they say over 100 games, and in reality you're getting like over 300 or 400 games. So technically speaking, if you want to go by that, technically Microsoft is over-delivering more with Game Pass than Sony is with PS Plus Premium. Just throwing it out there.
Mileage might vary depending on where you live, but that is an incredible amount of games, and in fact, PlayStation did over-deliver on the promises that they make, and traditionally that's why it's called greatness when it comes to PlayStation, because they actually over-deliver when they make promises as compared to Xbox always promising the world and delivering nothing.
Dude, this guy is such a fanboy. Oh my god, he's going with the whole, oh yes, Sony truly is true greatness of gaming. This is why their motto is greatness awaits, because there's greatness on the PlayStation. Like, whenever these fanboys run with, like, the company's, like, catchphrase or whatever, or their tagline for their consoles, it just makes me cringe so hard. But also, how is Microsoft delivering nothing? Because like I just said, once again, you know, technically they're delivering like 4 times what they promised, if you want to go by your logic, because they promised 100 plus games and they're delivering over 400. Meanwhile, PS Plus Premium, you know, they promised 700 plus and they're delivering 800. So I mean, technically speaking, again, going by his logic, Microsoft is over-delivering more than Sony is.
Obviously, we don't have time for me to list off all the games on the list, but as always, I'll put the link in the description so you guys can check out that full games list. As far as my experience goes with the PlayStation Plus Premium, it's been fantastic. Last night, I was playing God of War 1, and the game streaming is literally indiscernible. I can't tell that I'm streaming the game. It's not like my brain's thinking about it, like there's some kind of input lag. Literally, it feels like I downloaded the game and I'm playing God of War 1 natively on my PlayStation 5.
Yeah, and that's all fine and dandy until the PlayStation servers inevitably go down. Then goodbye to any plans you had on playing any of those PS3 games that you got to stream. Though it is a very good thing that it looks like Sony is working on an emulator for PS3 games. At least that's what I heard. But yeah, it is definitely awesome that you can't even tell a difference. I think that's truly a testament to how good game streaming has gotten recently. But again, like I just said, you know, the second your internet goes down or the PlayStation servers go down, I think you're going to notice a pretty big difference. That being, you're not going to be able to play the game.
So I've done the game streaming, I've done the game trials, I played the Hot Wheels game. You guys have seen that gameplay in my videos. I just have been blown away with the amount of great games that are in the service. There's so many games, I don't have the time to try them all, but I'm doing my best. I downloaded Dead Cells again. I play and beat that game on Xbox. We're playing that. There's My Friend Pedro. The list goes on and on. Again, I think this service is the best value in gaming, to be honest.
Well, there is no doubt it is a very great value, but you know, we already talked about earlier how you're not getting games day and date. Also, I find it very funny that a PlayStation fanboy of all people is praising the fact that there's old games available, because one of the main PlayStation fanboy arguments is that Xbox has no games, like all they get is sequels to existing games, and the only games on Game Pass are really old games that, you know, nobody cares about anymore. But here he is, you know, just downloading and playing a ton of old games, and he's praising Sony for that. So I just find that a bit hypocritical.
It's definitely not Xbox Game Pass. The fact that you can choose your tier and how much value they're providing, like I said, the free games that we get each month, add that into the collection and all these other things, and you could choose what you want. You're not forced into certain boxes.
I do agree that the tier system is great, and I do think Microsoft should try to do something similar to it, but at the same time, like I also mentioned earlier in the video, you know, if you want to play their new games on day one, you're kind of forced to, you know, actually buy them instead of using the subscription service. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video today. Basically, what we learned today is Game Pass is bad because it's more pro-consumer. Yeah, these fanboys are getting pretty creative, I would say. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the new PlayStation Plus versus Xbox Game Pass war in the comments below. Tell me, which one do you think is better? What do you think is the better value? Which one do you like more? Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.